Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 227, cover dated March 1988. And this issue tells the final chapter of the Fall of the Mutants storyline in the X-Men comic. So the cover here is by Marc Silvestri and Dan Green, and it shows all of the X-Men team of the period, minus Madeline Pryor, who does join them. And my interpretation is they are emerging into their new location, which will turn out to be down under the Australian outback. The colours of the cover here complement that, but it's not that they go there at the end of this issue just yet, but it seems to be prescient of their ultimate direction. So let's open the issue up to the first page here, and eagle-eyed viewers will notice a signature down here in the bottom right hand corner, and that is indeed author Chris Claremont. I didn't buy this book off the stands, I got it as a back issue, and I wasn't expecting Claremont's signature autograph on the book, so it was a pleasant surprise when I opened it up and found that. So the story opens back at Dallas, Texas, Eagle Plaza, Forge's Eagle Plaza, and the dramatic caption here reads, "The night of the end of the world." So there has been an explosion at the penthouse level of Eagle Plaza. Freedom Force and others have exited the building. Manoli here, Wetherell, is an engineer who's working with Neil Conan, who is a National Public Service, National Public Radio, NPR broadcaster and journalist. She thinks he's dead, that he's died in the explosion, but Pyro here points out that the camera's still running, so he must be alive, and so they check out the monitor there. So then the scene switches to this cool double page half splash of the X-Men over here about to fight a series of demons and NVA in Vietnam. So this is an enchanted version of one of Forge's holographic recordings of episodes from his life. So because of the disruption wrought by the adversary, it seems that this particular hologram is deadly real. So the X-Men snap into action, Colossus there thumping one of those demons away, Wolverine unsheathing his claws, very cool image here by Silvestri, and Havok of course getting into the action too. And in this period in time, because of the mandate that every issue could be a new reader's, Claremont has this device of introducing the characters and letting us know what their names and powers are. But it's worked in here with the idea that it's Neil Conan who's explaining it to viewers who are watching the broadcast around the world. So the fighting continues between the X-Men and these demons. Rogue, in fact, makes the decision that even though America was against the MVA, in the Vietnam War, she's going to choose them to defend them over these inhuman demons. Okay, so Madeline Pryor is present too, and she is remarking on how out of her depth she is when suddenly she comes across Forge. Now, it's Forge as a young man when he was in Vietnam, and she witnesses something that has been a bit of a mystery. In relation to Forge's background. He's been very quiet about his background, but it turns out he did a bad thing in Vietnam. So his platoon was cut down by the NVA, and in a fit of anger and seeking vengeance for their death, he uses their souls to open an interdimensional gateway and to summon the demons to wreak revenge. So Madeline is shocked by this here as she sees these demons emerging and murdering the NVA soldiers. And oddly, her scream, Forge seems to hear in the past. And this may be because of the time disruption that is going on in this area because of the rip in the space-time continuum above Eagle Plaza. The colouring here is noteworthy. This is not the normal X-Men colorist, Glynis Oliver. It's not her, it's Bill Ray. So interesting choice of colours, and I think they work really well here, quite dramatic. So Forge instantly regrets what he's done in the past, summoning the demons, and so he calls in an Arclight strike. That is a B-52 strike, and the whole of the area is bombed to bits, and it must also be the origin of Forge's loss of his leg and hand as well. We can infer that. So the X-Men have witnessed it, Madeline has witnessed this, and it's horrified her in relation to Forge. Then the scene switches to the adversary's location. He has taken over Roma's Super Celestial Citadel. He is keeping her prisoner there. And something that we didn't see between the end of last issue and this issue is that he also has taken prisoner Forge and Storm. So they're bound to this pillar in this particular panel. So the adversary is boasting about how his plan is going as he wishes, but Roma thinks, not so, adversary, as you shall soon learn. And then we switch back to Dallas and the recording of the X-Men, and Wolverine getting testy with Neil Conan, who is quizzing the X-Men on their opinion of Forge calling in the Arclight bombing of the MVA. Wolverine, as I said, loses his temper with him, calls him a busybody who can't mind his own business, when Neil Conan insists that he's just a reporter covering a story, doing his job. But he further explains himself that, look, the X-Men should be glad because they've often been mislabeled outlaws and ne'er-do-wells, and he is, by his videoing them, giving the world an opportunity to see them as they truly are. At your best, at your worst, as he says. And Havok, for one, is pleased. It sounds good to him and long overdue. So that's another feature of Claremont's X-Men. All the different characters have their own perspectives and points of view, and it makes for a much more dynamic team and book, consequentially. So Wolverine orders Rogue up to the Citadel to take a look-see, but she is tossed back by a maelstrom wind, and she crashes to Earth pretty violently. But of course, her powers are invulnerability that she stole from Carol Danvers in the past, so she survives. And then the X-Men rethink what they're going to do. So they come up with, well, actually it is it's Dazzler who comes up with the plan to use Longshot, because Longshot is not human. His species is humanoid, but he has hollow bones like a bird. And so she comes up with a plan to use the maelstrom wind that is whipping around the Citadel. She says, couldn't Longshot pull us? I mean, his bones are hollow. If that wind is strong enough, he might be able to soar on it like the sail of a kite, hauling us along behind as its string. And most importantly, his incredible luck might well bring us all safely through the maelstrom. So that is Longshot's mutant power, luck, especially when his motives are pure. So Longshot is up for it. Everybody else is a little bit skeptical. Neil thinks it's crazy, but Longshot thinks, my friends are in the hands of a villain. I have to do whatever I can to free them. And Neil says to him, you make it sound so simple and straightforward. And I like Longshot's reply here, isn't it? And again, just great art here by Silvestri too, capturing these little facial expressions on the characters. Nicely done, subtle. And a nice image here of Madeline Pryor, who insists also to go along with the X-Men. And she says, in these couple of panels, important here because it really goes to the heart of Claremont's kind of thematic message on the X-Men. Conan asks her, how about you, Miss Pryor? Why are you here? And she says, where does it say, Mr. Conan, that you have to be a mutant to believe in what the X-Men stand for and be willing to fight for it by their sides? And he asks, what beliefs? To echo Martin Luther King, she says, a world where people are judged by the content of their character, not by race or colour or powers. We're all human beings. Why can't we be all treated like it? Not freaks, not monsters, people. Be nice if that dream came true. And of course, that is Professor X's dream, but it is Claremont's particular take on it that echoes throughout his run of the X-Men series. So Madeline joins them, and ultimately, so too does the reporter, to go along and show the completion of the story. So all the X-Men ride the kite that is Longshot through the maelstrom into the Citadel, shocking the adversary. I knew you tried to reach the Citadel, but to actually succeed, magnificent. He's impressed. Also, he's not prepared for the fact that Longshot's blades, iron blades, actually injure him, penetrate his flesh. And then Rogue attacks him, stealing his powers. Wolverine goes into action too, stabbing the adversary in the face. And then, of course, down comes Colossus in living steel form and rips right through the adversary here in this fairly gory panel. And then the true shape or form of the adversary is revealed, his demonic form, in this particular panel. Again, just great storytelling by Marc Silvestri in these panels. And then we have Forge and Ororo getting free, and Ororo attacking the demon. All the X-Men piling on their powers to attack the adversary. But only one person can finish the job, and that's Forge. And he really does not want to do it because of what the cost will be. And so it turns out that the cost for shutting the adversary away is that 9 souls must volunteer their souls, their lives, which the X-Men choose to do, including Madeline Pryor, even though she's not a mutant. And so Forge casts some spells and seals the adversary away forever. As he says, the scales are balanced, the ghosts are gone, the spirits of my friends finally free to rest in peace. That is the platoon that he was a member of in Vietnam. But I tell you, Roma, the price now as then isn't worth the victory. And so it appears that the X-Men have died in Dallas, as was foreseen by Destiny, by Irene Adler. And then we get the scene shifting to Morale and Kitty Pryde, who was injured in the Mutant Massacre and who's recovering there. Having watched the public broadcast of the X-Men's deaths, upset by it, she goes to visit Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, who also was injured in the Mutant Massacre and who's come to and is recovering. And he realizes something's wrong with Kitty, and she breaks down and tells him it's the worst. So we can infer that she breaks the news to him of the death of the X-Men. Then our scene switches back to Dallas. Forge walks out of the remains of Eagle Plaza, bringing with him Neil Conan, who's reunited with his engineer there. And Mystique accosts him. Forge, why their souls? Why not your own? Because remember, everyone has seen what happened on television. I cast the spell, Mystique. I couldn't be a part of it. And she calls after him as he walks away. Murderer, murderer. A very dramatic scene. Nicely handled here by Claremont, and so interesting that, Forge doesn't give a fuller explanation. Then, a surprise. We turn over the page. We go back to Roma's Citadel, and she draws out of the adversary's prison that he was cast into by Forge the X-Men, and they come back to life. And Storm asks, has Forge's spell failed? No, Storm, but such a gate as this, such a being as the adversary must never be locked away forever. For from such primal chaos comes change, and from change growth. Foul and cruel though he may be, The universe needs him. Life needs him. And so he's bound for an age, sufficient punishment for his transgressions. And the X-Men, reality's champions, are entitled to a reward commensurate with their sacrifice. So now they have a choice to make. Do they go back to their lives at the moment they died? Or does Roma send them somewhere else? And Storm had been mulling over a plan Omega, whereby the X-Men would fake their deaths, disappear, go off grid, and operate from the shadows. So Wolverine reminds her of this, thinks it's potentially a good plan, but of course the problem is that what about their friends and family? Isn't it cruel to make them think that they're dead? But Colossus says, should not the needs of the many, my friends, take precedence over the desires of the few? Havok concurs, and even Madeline Pryor goes along with it. If this is the way we can make a difference, please let's do it. So Roma concurs. Then you are agreed, and that is for the best. I salute you, X-Men. Magnificent though you were as heroes, all a person might wish to be, now you can do much more because you have become legends. Next, a new beginning down under. So, a stunning, dramatic climax and conclusion to the fall of the mutants and the X-Men's battle with the adversary, and storylines that go all the way back to Uncanny X-Men 185, when Forge's device was used to strip Storm of her powers. She's regained her powers, and over the course of those issues she was rethinking her role in the world and her relationship to the X-Men. Professor X, of course, has disappeared around issue, I think, 202. So the X-Men now are reconfigured and ready for a fresh chapter in their lives. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like the video, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.